Okay, so we're here checking out your turn-in for assignment 9. You had mentioned having some concerns about the way the shadows were looking, as well as some of the reflections. So we're going to take a closer look and see, what kind of things we can maybe do to improve the way it's looking a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in so that we can kind of see, what's going on a little closer, and I'm going to make sure that we've already got the ball outside of the cannon here. I'm also going to come to the render settings, and I'm going to go to my software here, and I'm just going to turn off the motion blur for now so that we can see things a little more clearly. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and render this and see what we're starting off with. Okay, so what we've got here is this shadow right here of the ball, okay, as well as the cannon. They're pretty squashed down, and so you can see this looks pretty round compared to the oval shape of the ball. That's just the way that the light is angled that's causing that. It's at kind of a lower angle to the horizon, so it's mimicking that kind of stretched out shadow thing that you see at sunset, for example. Okay, so they're looking a little bit long, but that's fine, that's not a problem. The other thing you might notice about the shadows is that they're very stark. These are really dark shadows, okay, so there's not a lot of difference in how dark the shadows are, no matter how far they are from the object, or anything like that. It's pretty much just, it's either this checkerboard or it's a really dark shadow on checkerboard. So that's one of those moments when we really need our fill light to come in and lighten these things up a little bit, okay? So that they're not just these stark black outlines. So, I see you do have a light back here. It's a little point light hanging out, but if we look at it carefully, it's actually hanging out like right in the floor, pretty much. So it's probably not really doing us very much good there. If it's slightly underneath the ground plane here, it's probably not shining on our scene at all. And if it's slightly above, or even with the ground plane, it might be shining a little bit, but probably not much. Probably not enough to really affect our scene. So let's grab that light. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to show you a nifty little trick here, since when we're dealing with lights, it's kind of a pain to keep rendering and rendering and rendering every time we move something. Just be aware that, this takes up more processing power for your computer, so if you're working on a really old machine, I wouldn't recommend messing with this. But if you have something updated, you can click this little button right here, okay? It says use all lights. It just looks like a little glowing light. And when you do that, Maya will go ahead and show you what your lights look like in the scene. Okay, so when I toggle that, you can see here everything's very flat. There's not really much light information going into it. When I hit use all lights, we'll see a little more about how this light information is affecting our scene. We can also toggle this toggle viewport renderer, okay? This will give us a higher quality image as well. Again, if you're using an older system, an older machine, I don't recommend this. It'll make Maya run very slowly, and if your computer is old enough, it may even make Maya crash, okay? So don't mess with those too much. But in this case, there's not a lot going on here, so it'll probably be fine. Alright, so we'll turn that stuff on so we can kind of see a little better what we're doing, and I'm going to go ahead and grab that little light now. So now you can see when I'm moving around, now that we have all that fancy stuff turned on, we can actually see this and how it's affecting the scene, alright? So I'm going to just marquee select to grab that light, and I'll just shift click the ground plane to deselect that. So I only have my light selected now. And I'm going to move it up. So you can see as I move it, rather than just being this teeny little blip on the floor, it's now adding some light information into our scene, okay? Depending on how close it is or far away, you know, that's gonna change the look of things. So now that we've moved that up, let's go ahead and render this again, because we've now got more fill light information. It should help soften up these shadows, in theory. Okay, so now when we're looking at our shadows, you can see closer to the cannon here, we've got these nice crisp dark shadows, all right? But as we move away from the cannon, our fill light is actually lightening up these shadows over here, so they're a little less stark. So, you know, effectively you have kind of a gradient effect on your shadows now, okay? And they're not quite so in your face, and it just helps break them up a little bit more, okay? Another thing that you can kind of play with is this light over here. You know, you've got it kind of lighting up the back of the cannon there. So you can adjust that a little bit to get more of an outline on the back of the cannon here, all right? And, you know, if you look at the ball as well, that can help light up the back of that as well, because, you know, it was set pretty low before, okay? So it wasn't giving us too much light back there. We can brighten it up maybe. We could try it at least. And, you know, lighting is a lot about experimentation and seeing what really works for you. You know, when you're doing your lighting, there's no right or wrong necessarily. You just need to try different things and see how they affect your scene, see how things are looking, okay? So we can see on the back here, this ball is super shiny and super reflective. But on the front, when we render that, it's just white mostly, okay? And that partly has to do with the angle that we're looking at it from. So you can see down here it's starting to reflect that checkers plane that we've got. If we look at it from the bottom, we should be able to see more checkers, okay? So since we're looking at it kind of from this precise angle, it's going to reflect whatever is around it in the environment. Since the environment stops right here, all of this is actually rendered as just kind of empty blackness, all right? So in your reflections there'll be pretty much no information. The only information that this reflective ball is able to pick up from the outside atmosphere is light shining on it. So the only thing that it's reflecting is this big white light here, okay? So, you know, if you took the time to build more of the scene, or there are also, you know, other tricks that we can use to kind of quickly project a scene around around an area here, then you can start to see reflections on things like this. But for now, for the purposes of this exercise, it's not super important that we have something to reflect. But just know that if there was something out there to reflect, then your reflections would look totally fine, okay? So we'll just turn the motion blur back on for a moment, just to get that kind of final touch. And I'll just come in here and render this. So we've got that motion blur now, we've got some better shadows so we can see, and we can choose the right angle that we want for different shadows. If we don't like that, we can always turn our directional light, which is the main source of shadow information, and change how the look of this is. But this is totally fine. Again, you can play with the lights, try different things. You can try different intensities, different colors. On a spot like this, we can even soften the glow, soften the shadow. Okay, so it's not such a stark light. So I encourage you to go in and try some of these different sliders and see what happens, how they affect your lighting. It's just one of those things that over time you'll begin to learn more and more about lighting as you play with these things. All right. So that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that we went over. Thanks for watching, and happy modeling.